Hang on, I've got to say this, Mabel. I've got to say this. The cabbies in London, the black cab drivers are fantastic.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to TransHampton, the episodes that we do for Trans Pride Southampton for the podcast and everything. Welcome to episode 2, where it's February 2024. I'm Sam, one of your co-hosts. She, her pronouns.
Morla, she, her pronouns.
My name's Mabel, and I use she, her pronouns too.
So the first topic that we have is the Nex Benedict with they, them pronouns. It's a topic that Mabel found and wanted to talk about.
Absolutely. So this is something that a lot of people are hearing about now. It's been all over my social media. I'm sure it's been all over yours too. And I know it's been, of course, circulating with the other trans prides as well in the UK. So Nex Benedict is a non-binary student from Oklahoma, and I think it was early February where they were attacked in a school bathroom by some young girls as well. I believe they might have been older than Nex. And then a day later, unfortunately, Nex Benedict did succumb to their injuries and die. So this is something that, again, as I said, you would have been seeing a lot of posts about. It's not something you've seen a post about from Trans Pride Southampton, purely because it's me that's doing the posts a lot of the time. And there's just so much negativity right now. It has been getting to me and I've been struggling to find the words, but yeah, it was something I wanted to talk about tonight. The Human Rights Campaign has called for a federal investigation into the circumstances surrounding the death, because there is still a lot that we're not too sure about. We know that it wasn't the school who called an ambulance for Nex, but it was a decision that their grandmother decided to do when they saw Nex in the state that they were in. We've also seen some pretty bad words from, where I said today, from a superintendent of education in Oklahoma. So that was Ryan Rolters, who claims the death of the non-binary teen is being exploited for political gain by radical leftists. And I think that's just disgusting, really. I don't know what any of your opinions are about that. I'm sure it's just as negative, really. But this is a superintendent in Oklahoma saying that, again, radical leftists are using Nex's death for political gain. Yeah, I think that's absolutely disgusting.
I think it's because of the outcry that this situation has created has caught the school off guard. I don't think they thought it was going to make the news. I know a little bit of detail about the case. I don't know whether to go in to talk about it here because it's also wrapped up in libs of TikTok as well, and sarcastic terrorism and stuff like that, and the fact that Nex had to use bathroom that was not their choice, and because of Oklahoma's discriminatory trans legislation in the state has resulted in them being forced into use the bathroom that is not suitable for them. And in cases like this is the natural outcome.
Absolutely. The superintendent did go on to say in a Pink News article I've been reading from that he said there's not multiple genders, there's two, and that's how God created us. And
there's no empathy from the school.
No empathy at all there. What is strange though, I've seen a little bit of talks about there in some forums, is how, again, this happened earlier in February, but it's only really starting to spring up, I think, in the last few days. I don't know if that's correct or not, but I do wonder if the school has been trying to keep it away from the news, maybe, which is why we're only just starting to hear about it now.
It's also probably just the case of, like, they probably didn't have that much information of it. If it's only just happened or anything, they probably wanted to know all their facts and get it all in order beforehand. But it's terrible what's happened, and I definitely hope that it gets... Well, it's nice that it's in the news, at least, because we don't hear about all of these things all the time. And it's hard to get all of these bits of information about things that are happening in the UK and America and all that. There seemingly is more in America at the moment, at least. what I can find, but it is the case of it's nice to see it in the news, but it's not nice to know it's in the news. It's not good things in the news, of course, and it's nice that it's being covered. That's what I'm trying to say.
I'm glad it's being brought to light, yeah, because Benedict was taken to hospital on the 7th of February and they died. They succumbed to their injuries on the 8th of February. So, again, for it to, at least on my radar, for it to have sprung up really in the last week or so, there does seem like there was some sort of push down, at least, from whatever was happening in the state there. There have been some not similar occurrences. There have been some occurrences in Britain as well. So I think they were both in London. There were 2 stabbings of transgender teens. There were 2 separate cases. And one of them too also did pass away. Another one that thankfully did survive. But yeah, it's not something I've been making posts about again because there's just been so much of this at once, especially after the fact it was only about a week or so ago that we had the Brianna J vigil. I've just been really drained emotionally. I feel like it's a real shame that this is happening.
I think it's obvious this is going to happen when you have a media and a government in both countries, America and the UK.
Yeah,
that is using a minority as a scapegoat and denying us our rights and stripping away. I mean, the difference is in the UK, the government is launching advice to organisations on how to treat trans people. In America, they're actually passing physical legislation that restricts trans rights, trans healthcare, just the transition. It's a slippery slope to governments in this country starting to pass legislation against us. And with the rhetoric they use, it explains why trans women predominantly are being targeted for assault and stabbings.
It's been happening for a long time now. There has been, we're being influenced so heavily from much terrible things happening right now in America coming into the UK. It's coming across the pond. So I know that there's a lot of Christian organisations that are lobbying with the media and getting this anti-transgender rhetoric so riled up. I think that's been happening for over a decade now. They tried to do it in Ireland, but in the Republic of Ireland, they were pushing back. They were like, no way. But it just seems to have really been taking a hold of Britain, which is a real shame there.
It's why we're Turf Ireland.
Moving on, you've done a lot of posts about the LGBT History Month, Mabel. Do you want to speak about that, how it's went, and all that, especially like feedback and things on the LGBT History Month? We've got a couple more days because of when we're recording this podcast, but it is the case of by the time you hopefully hear this, it should all be released. So go check out our socials on Facebook and Instagram. We'll leave a link to as much of this as possible in the description of the podcast anyway.
Absolutely. Yeah, so moving on to a bit more positive topic, but also another reason why I'm probably a bit drained of making posts right now. So I've been able to make an LGBT History Month post for every day in February. It's something I'm quite proud of to have been able to do. They've been coming out, of course, every day this month. And as we said, there's a few more to go now that we're at the end of February, getting towards the end of February. And I'm quite glad that I've been able to have a lot of local queer history topics. So, of course, we talked about Solent Pride, which was in 1992 to 1994, before Southampton Pride. And that was a 2-week Pride event. If you could imagine that, 2 weeks of Pride that was happening in Southampton for all of Solent, I imagine. So we would have been getting people from the Isle of Wight, from the New Forest, all the way to Portsmouth, I'm sure, too. So yeah, that was something we talked about. We talked about the switchboard being set up, the Beaumont Society, and there's a few more posts to go. Not all of the local LGBT history posts have came out yet, but I'm really glad I've been able to make that a strong facet of the posts.
So we've been doing really well with the posts and all that, and I believe that it has drove traffic towards everything that we've been doing, including the Burana stuff that we done lately. That we of course sat down, had some candles, just had a safe space that people can chat and hopefully just remember Brianna.
Get through the tough time.
Get through the tough time and hopefully be all right. And that went really well. We had Daily Mail reach out to us. Was it Daily Mail or Daily Echo?
Daily Echo.
Daily Echo. Daily Echo reached out to us to be able to, of course, do a little article on it. We said, as long as they don't take photos inside and stuff, because people, of course, like grieving and things.
They're grieving, yeah.
It's fine. They can interview some of us as long as they're polite about it and things. And their article was very good about it. I think they've done a very good job for all of that.
I think they were very sensitive what was going on, yeah, because of course this month as well, the names of the two murderers of Brianna Gay were released as well. So of course that has brought up a lot of feelings, as well as the fact that on the, what day was it? It was a couple of weeks ago now. There was the 1 year anniversary, of course, from Brianna Gay. So I'm not happy, but I am proud of ourselves that we were able to organise that event, and I'm very thankful to the Art House as well for being able to have that. Well, let us use their space for that event.
So yeah, LGBT History Month done really well and everything. Is there anything else you want to add, Orlagh, to that?
No, I think from what we saw from the people who attended the service, the memorial service, if you like, it was a wide spectrum of the queer community, and it was nice to see that solidarity from the wider queer community as well.
Yeah, we had a lot more people than I thought that would turn up and everything and sit down and politely speak. And
for a small space, we got about 20 people. That's not bad.
Yeah, it was getting quite full in there. So moving on, we have the Rishi Sunak faces a call to apologise. If you want to read about that or talk about that, Orlagh.
Well, Rishi Sunak, fishy Sunak, made a trans comment in the Commons on the 7th of February 2024 during Prime Minister's question time. And for a moment, I wasn't sure if he knew where he was. When Prime Minister's question time kicked off, Keir Starmer made a statement basically welcoming Brianna's mother to the chamber to observe the proceedings, and praised her. He then sat down. Prime Minister's questions began, and in the back and forth between Keir Starmer and Sunak made a transphobic comment. He was either not aware of where he was, wasn't paying attention to anything Starmer had said beforehand, or is just bloody stupid. I mean, the mother of a murdered trans teen is in the building in front of you, and you make a transphobic statement like that. The man just doesn't care. I don't think any of them care. So I don't know what else to say. Yeah, it just really made me really angry. I did a video on it. It's called WTF Fishy. And in it, I just go off my head. I couldn't believe it.
I actually watched that video, and you could see where you're like getting more angry as the video goes on, and you just sort of had to end it at the end, and you so accumulated. All of the anger and everything towards the end was a lot. It was a well produced video, but it shouldn't have had to.
I liked it. It shouldn't have had to be made though, Sam. No. Watching back with the Prime Minister questions, it does really look like he was just a little schoolboy who forgot where he was to say something completely inappropriate. It was, I just felt so much embarrassment for the man to be so ridiculous.
And then to refuse to apologise.
Yeah, that's just sad.
And double down on it and turn it around, and instead of apologising, getting him and Braverman to turn it around to point fingers at Starmer and then accuse him of weaponising the subject at Rishi Sunak.
No, you can't make it up.
And you watched this all unfold live, didn't you, Orlagh?
I did. I was listening to it on the radio. I couldn't believe it. Absolutely couldn't believe it. I just thought, you stupid idiot. It's just mindless. It's just...
It is just mindless, yeah. But we'll move on anyway. So apparently we're taking over John Lewis. There's a article and everything. I'll leave a link to it and everything. I'm not going to say the creators of it and anything, but I'm just going to read out a couple of paragraphs on the beginning of it because it's kind of hilarious. John Lewis is to most people a department store that exists to sell toasters, cushions, and lamps. But it turns out we have been labouring under a massive misinterpretation all these years. John Lewis's internal magazine, Identity, reveals that the shop's purpose is rather different. It exists to affirm the bespoke identities of its staff. The publication, created by John Lewis's LGBT network, kind of cool, contains advice to parents on how to allow their children to express their gender identity. Identity includes a testimony from a mum of a trans identifying girl as well. It says girl. In a story titled Raising Trans and Non-Binary Children, she writes that a chest binder is always safer than the alternative. So they misgender the person from what I can read there, as well as states that it's all to be able to, of course, bring on the trans agenda and all this other stuff to your children through their in-house LGBT supportive magazine.
Yeah,
So they're inclusive.
Yeah, and how dare you be inclusive? That obviously means that we're taking over John Lewis.
Yeah, it's really funny. We saw the article and everything, and me and Orlagh gone and got. We were looking at new laptops and stuff, and we're like, they found us. They knew that we're in there. But all seriousness, it is the case of like it's stupid that they're now attacking even just little bits of information that possibly is out there just to be able to help parents be able to understand, hey, this is your child, it is okay. It is the case of it's more safer for your child to express their gender than go off and kill themselves, because it is the case of that is the alternative. The alternative is, hey, we don't like ourselves, we don't like that we're feeling this way, we don't know what's going on half the time, and that's what ends up happening, as we can probably all state.
So studies show, well, one of the best things to improve the outcome of a gender dysphoric young person or a trans young person with gender dysphoria, the best way to increase their outcome, their happiness in life, and just have a better outlook on life and in general, is to affirm their gender. So I don't know how that means that we're this terrible cult-like entity when we're literally teaching cisgender people how to react if your child comes out of trans. I don't know how that is being turned into some sort of cult-like mannerism, or that we're hurting them, when literally it is life-saving.
Yeah, it does. It's deny all access to trans-affirmative healthcare. Do not transition. Do not stop. Go straight to prison.
Yeah, do not collect your £200. Yeah, it's the thing. Like, one of the major things is simple things like wearing like correct clothes and stuff is gender affirming care. And your haircut is gender affirming care. And it's something that I don't know if we mentioned last episode or we've mentioned in general. I know we have mentioned about it to people in general and stuff. But gender affirming care is generally a thing that cis people go through as well. They go through it all the time. If a woman's getting hair on her legs or her arms or face or whatever, she'll wax. And it's the case of that's the same with trans people. That's the same with like anyone else in the world. You go through gender affirming care, but it's the case of it's wrong if a trans person goes through gender affirming care, because it's the case of it's not the gender norm. I guess it's ridiculous, and I'm glad that we found this article and read at least the first like 2 paragraphs. If you want to go look at it, then we'll leave it in the show notes. But yeah, it's ridiculous that at least we know John Lewis is supportive of us, and I hope that they keep being supportive of us, and I hope they keep on doing their magazine of identity. It's really awesome to know about that. If anything, I didn't know about it beforehand, and now I might go read it.
I'm pretty sure John Lewis supported People's Pride Southampton a year or so back. So, yeah, they do really care about the LGBT QIA plus community, I feel.
I think they supported Pride as well.
Oh, Southampton Pride.
Yeah, I think they have. I don't know. Don't quote me, but I think they have.
Yeah, maybe we'll have to reach out to them as a Trans Pride Southampton, especially as they have the identity and stuff. Even if they are, to be honest, we could probably offer them up a stall or something, and that would be nice.
We'll have to think about it. Yeah.
Okay, so moving on, you got the Kemi Benedict no pride stuff.
Absolutely, yep. So the Equalities Minister Kemi Badenoch attended 0 Pride-related events in 2023. That's worse than Liz Truss, and we all know how transphobic Liz Truss was when she was the Equalities and Women and Equalities Minister, of course, those few years back now. So Kemi Badenoch herself did say that she engaged extensively with LGBT groups in her roles. So naturally, who was it? The journalist and author Ryan Love then made a Freedom of Information request just to see who these groups there, who they worked with. And yeah, there were no pride organisations that Kemi worked with. There was no really big LGBT charities either. In fact, there were just 2 groups. And I think you're both going to laugh at the groups there that she's been working with. So the first group was Transgender Trend, and the second group was Sex Matters. So 2 gender critical organisations. Those are her LGBT groups she's worked extensively with.
I think you just need to throw in the LGBT Alliance, and you got the trilogy.
Yeah,
there.
call it a day. Yeah.
Job done.
Yeah. Orlagh, you said something interesting when we were talking about this previously, to be able to, of course, understand what topics and everything we're going through. You mentioned about how the the Sex Matters started in Southampton, wasn't it?
Yes, it was formed in Southampton, and their first conference was in Southampton. Where, I can't remember. I don't know if it was the Guildhall or not. But yeah, they were formed in Southampton, and they had their first conference here as well. About, I want to say 5 years ago. I might be wrong. It might be about 3 or 4, but it was within the last 5 years.
Right, it was 1966, I believe, where the Beaumont Society was founded in Southampton. Yeah. So we beat them to it. No.
Yeah, got there first.
Yeah.
So yeah, like that's ridiculous that they haven't been to any prides. They haven't done anything like that. It's not good for us having a, what was it, Mabel? Because I'm not really into politics.
Women and Equalities Minister.
So yeah,
a transphobic Women's and Equalities Minister again.
Yeah, so knowing that they're supposed to be our Equalities Minister, it's the case of they're not doing anything for equality, at least for LGBT people, and I doubt they're going to do anything in any other minority community at all, because I'm guessing that's a part of their role as well.
That's right, yeah. They're the Inequalities Minister, if you ask me.
Yeah, they'll just not do it properly, and they're just going to look out for the 1%ers as well as just the white, straight, cis people. By the looks of it, more than anything, is that's seemingly what they seem to be looking for at the current moment.
Yeah, protect the cis norm nativity.
The problem is as well, Kemi Badenoch is British African, I think. And so it's almost like the Tories use people of colour in their party to legitimise racism and bigotry. It's not a good look.
So there's an article about they're trying to ban the young adults from transitioning. So this is all the way up to your you cannot transition to your late 20s. It was talked about in the House of Lords. It was debated on schools guidance and the gender questioning in children and stuff like that. And someone stated, I'm not going to give them publicity or no, I'll leave an article to it if you want to go to see it. It's from Pink News and everything. And it's really good and explains a lot of things and all that. But I'm just going to mention about it and talk about it. But it basically states that no one should be able to transition to your late 20s. So they're already trying to push the barrier even further down the line than what they've already been trying to do, where they've been going, you can't try and transition till you're an adult. And now they're like, oh, you're an adult, but you're a young adult. You can't transition till your late 20s and maybe your 30s or whatever. And they're just going to kick the can down the road even further and just go, you can't transition at all. Or they'll just turn around and go, oh, you're 40, 50 now. You should have transitioned years ago. And they'll just get to the point that like, oh, you should have known and should have transitioned years ago. And it's like, well, you had legislation in a way that I wouldn't be able to, of course, transition.
That is something that does happen to a lot of older people that come out as trans at later age do experience though. where they do get asked, well, why are you only just making this decision now? As if there hasn't been all of this negativity for decades, of course, and just not knowing that these options were available. But yeah, it's completely disgusting to hear what that was. It a Tory life peer in the House of Lords said. I think that's right, wasn't it?
It was a crossbench life peer. If I don't know what that means myself because, of course, I'm not massively into politics. From what I gather, from what Orlagh mentioned as well earlier, they're a cis person that knows nothing about transgender people. Pretty much, if they're already trying to say that you should not be able to transition till your late 20s at minimum.
Because, you know, first they came for the puberty blockers, and now they're going to come for early to late 20s. Yeah, you can have a kid when you're 16, but you can't transition. And as Orla said earlier, you can pay your taxes, keep on paying your taxes and national insurances, but you're not going to be able to transition until your late 20s for your own good. It's just belittling.
Yeah, you can pay into the NHS, but you can't use its services.
Well, it's like at the moment, you pay your council tax and all that, and they're not going to do the bins. It's one of the
We're
main
not picking
reasons.
up the bins.
Yeah, we're not picking up. There's a lot of issues, of course, with the council, but we need our bins taken up. It's been 2 weeks, and they're just sitting out there on the side of the road. They need to be
We've got the
picked up.
recycling and garbage bin out, and they've not been taken yet.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. They need to take it. We're going to start getting rats and stuff. But yeah, it sucks that they're now trying to kick the can even further down the road, and that's after the fact that their like system for schools and stuff of their guidance for schools, because it's not law, it's just guidance, and a lot of some schools are taking it on, some schools are taking it on, not taking it on, obviously. So we'll see how that goes.
There's a lot that are going to resist. The schools that know better with regards to transgender guidance, the schools that have actually had transgender pupils, they're not going to be taking on the guidance. That happened quite recently too, didn't it? Was it this month? Did we talk about it in the podcast last month?
We talked about it last month.
There is a consultation taking place at the moment to do with the government advice to schools on trans kids.
What's probably why this came out, because it was talked about in the House of Lords, where they were debating on the school guidance, and then someone stated that we should not transition to our late 20s. Sucks.
I've got a contact in the National Education Union who has said that people in the National Education Union are going to be banding together to respond to the consultation negatively, because it is really bad advice to give about trans peoples. So maybe that can be just a glimmer of hope there.
Yeah, well, it is generally a hard thing, because it shouldn't be a thing, but it's they've made it difficult, especially with the guidance and stuff, because some teachers might agree with it, some teachers won't. The ones that don't agree with it, they're trying to, of course, think about the actual children more than thinking about, oh, I don't like trans people, because a lot of it is, I don't like trans people, I don't like, they make me feel uncomfortable or whatever, because it's the case of they're not comfortable in their like original sex that they were assigned. As who knows? I'm hoping it will change especially if we change government in the next year, especially due to elections and stuff.
Yeah, no, I know that we did a statement against the advice that was given, which got released by Incommon too, and it just makes me think about all of the teachers when I came out as trans in secondary school who acted like complete arseholes to me after that. I can just think about them getting their ideas affirmed, which is really, really annoying.
And they'll have the excuse to bully you as well.
Yeah, they just use that. Mabel, you saw something about the top 10 most friendly LGBT cities for students.
I did, yes. Let's get that up. So the top 10 most LGBT friendly cities for students has been released. We'll go through some of the names just to see if this is surprising for any of you two or not. Personally, there's some cities that I've went to that are surprising me a little bit, and there are cities that are a bit more obvious. Unfortunately, Southampton isn't in this list, so that's something we're going to have to work on as Trans Pride to make sure our city gets more LGBTQ friendly for students and for everyone, of course. So the first one, the most LGBT friendly city was London, So I don't know if that's surprising for any of you or not.
Sort
I've
of.
not had any sort of, yeah, I've not had any issues myself in London, but it's so big, like I've not seen
Yeah.
all of it.
It's the thing. London's so big, so I don't know what part of London they're really talking about. The government, of course, are like set in London, so that's probably why I feel like it's confusing or weird. But London is reasonably progressive in some areas.
They've got a good queer community, yeah, because they've got something called DIY Pride, and they've got, I think it's, oh, I need to remember the name. There's like an LGBT homeless network as well in London, so that's a really good organisation too. There's UK Black Pride in London, so there certainly is a lot of progressiveness. In London, of course, there's Trans Pride London, which isn't their actual name. It's like Trans in London or something like that, and London Pride.
Yeah. So they have a lot
Yeah,
of prides and stuff. But
and
to be honest,
organisations. Yeah,
there are huge cities. You could try and walk straight through the city, and you'll be walking for hours. You'll never reach the end. So it
yeah.
makes sense
Especially
for
if
them
this
to have so
includes
much.
Greater London.
Yeah,
Yeah,
if it does include Greater London, not just central London, like where the king lives and where the governments are, then yeah,
yeah. Not
it would
London
be.
town.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
wouldn't be surprising knowing how big London is.
Right. Next one. Of course, no surprises here. Brighton.
Fair enough. Brighton's
Yeah,
a very progressive area. We went
I'm
to
surprised it's not first, to be honest.
are you going 10-9? Oh,
No,
that's
I'm going most second.
this is a second. So London was
Yeah.
first and Brighton is second. Yeah, that's fair
Mhm.
enough. If it was eighth, I would have got confused. But yeah, it's a
Yeah.
very progressive city. I guess the only main thing with it is it's not London. It's not.
Yeah, it's not London. It's not got as much money.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's not got all the money and everything. It's just got a ton of queer people that have moved there. To be honest, it's probably one of the only safest spaces that you can actually go for queer people at the moment.
I feel very safe in Brighton. Yeah. How do you feel, Orlagh?
For the two cities you've mentioned, I love them. When I first transitioned back in the noughties, I used to go to London a lot and really dress up. And out of the amount of times I've been backwards and forwards to London since I've transitioned, I only got abuse twice. No, once. No, the first one wasn't abuse. It was just a comment. One was abuse. Someone shouted at me from a road in just down from in Cromwell Road as I was crossing Cromwell Road, and that is it. Most of the time, you just disappear in London. No one pays you any much mind.
Well,
Yeah.
it's
That's
similar to
probably a
what.
big part of it too.
Yeah, it's similar rules to New York. Everyone just doesn't really care. They're just doing their own thing. They're just getting on with their day, and that's about it. So yeah, it makes sense that you wouldn't get so much stuff in London. People
Yeah.
got rent to pay, and they got to go do the next thing that they're doing.
Got jobs to do. Yeah. Right.
And
I'll
the
go through.
cabbies. Hang on, I've got to say this, Mabel. I've got to say this. The cabbies in London, the black cab drivers are fantastic. They are just if you don't mind being called darling and love during a conversation, I love the taxi drivers in London because they are so inclusive. So inclusive. Never miss a trick with the pronouns. Sometimes we'll ask you, we'll talk about pride in the city, all sorts. Fantastic.
Yeah. That's interesting because I remember from A-level psychology a good few years ago that that London cab drivers, black cab drivers, they, from having to do so many tests like the knowledge test, they actually do have more. I don't think it's larger, but more specialised, more connections in certain areas of their brain, like the hippocampus. So surprisingly, there might just be a correlation between being very smart and being trans inclusive. Who could have guessed?
Yeah.
Yeah. What's the other cities then?
Yeah, so I'll go through these ones quickly just so we're not doing this all night. So I'll do the next three. So third was Cambridge, fourth was Manchester, and fifth was Edinburgh. What are your two opinions on that?
I'm not surprised Edinburgh's in the Manchester's in the top 5, but I'm surprised Bristol isn't up there.
Yeah.
No.
Bristol seems would be pretty up there, sort of thing. I'm sure Bristol possibly maybe on the list of 10.
You'll have to see.
Yeah. Cambridge,
suspense.
the suspense. Cambridge is one that sort of surprises me because, in my head at least, Cambridge is a reasonably posh area, and I would expect them to be more posh and more conservative and things.
University city. And if you know anything about the rivalry between Oxford and Cambridge, Cambridge is the left-wing university, Oxford is the right-wing university.
Oh, okay, that makes a bit more sense then. I did a residential stay at the University of Cambridge for a little bit, and whilst we were like going towards the campus, lots of student accommodation like away from the road as we were going onto the campus did have pride flags hanging from their top windows. So maybe it is quite progressive, but again, I've not really been in Cambridge, Manchester, or Edinburgh to really get a feel of the city. I only went to Cambridge again for a University of Cambridge like residential, so I didn't get that much exposure to the town itself. Right, well, I'll do the next ones now if you're okay with that. So in 6th place is Oxford, 7th is Nottingham, and 8th is Bristol.
Fair enough. Oxford being up there, like what Ola was saying and everything.
Yeah, so it's lower than
Surprising
Cambridge.
that. It's lower than Cambridge, but it's still higher than Southampton, obviously, because Southampton's not on the list. So it's
and it's higher than Bristol.
Yeah, maybe it was only the top 20 populous cities in the UK that people can easily remember or something, and Southampton didn't make the list, and then they turned around and made that a shorter list from there.
Yeah, I'll go. This is probably a good point before I do the last two to actually see how they did manage to gauge this. So it did so by comparing the size of the city's queer population, local social groups and clubs, and interest in the area's annual Pride event, as well as the number of recorded LGBT hate crimes. So again, that's probably a big reason why London's got the first place, because there's loads of Pride organisations and it's got a large population. So that probably explains a little bit there. And then the last two places I'll just say would be Bournemouth, which does surprise me, to be honest. Bournemouth is in 9th place, and then 10th is Liverpool.
Bournemouth does have a queer district. It's down by
Really?
the Triangle. Yeah, it's down by the Triangle, I believe.
I'll have to watch out for that then. Yeah.
Like Manchester's Canal Street.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, that's a very interesting list. Hopefully we can make it next year to
Absolutely. Yeah. Because we've got a growing number of social groups. We've got so local social groups. We've got Everything We Do, People's Pride and Southampton Pride. There's also Siblings of Marcia now. So that was made last year, which is a queer people of colour run group. And I'm just trying to think. We don't have that many LGBT art house, yeah, but we don't have that many LGBT venues. Of course, we're kind of losing one with the art house as they go into a new phase of their project.
I know that we do have LGBT friendly venues such as was it Born in the City is very queer.
Yeah, we've got
in
loads
general.
of friendly ones,
but
we don't seem to have a lot of queer venues. I think the only two we've properly got is the London Hotel and the Edge. But with the Edge, I've not been there. Really, Cafe Thrive?
And Thrive, Cafe Thrive. Yeah, they're very queer friendly. They got the flags up.
Yeah, I've noticed those. Okay, yeah, so we've got a few. Hopefully we can just nurture these growing numbers, of course, get more social groups, which is always good as well, and yeah, hopefully we'll just go from strength to strength and then get into that top 10 sweet spot.
We heard some really good things about David Tennant's wife from the BAFTAs. She had we don't know if it's a permanent or a temporary tattoo, so not if it's a real tattoo or not. There's hopefully going to be proper news about that, or only time will really tell if it starts going wonky after a while, if they only drawn it on sort of thing. But it was a tattoo on their wrist that simply stated trans rights are human rights. What's our thoughts about that and everything? I didn't really watch the BAFTAs. I should probably as a filmmaker, but I didn't. So what do you all think about that?
I think that's positive. It's really good to see that people in positions of influence are coming out in support of us, especially in the current climate.
It just shows the disconnect between the way that the government is trying to act with being at worst hateful or at best neglectful and contempt, compared to society at large.
Yeah, it's the thing. There's plenty of Georgia, his wife. We haven't actually heard anything about her like standing up for trans rights or anything, as I believe David Tennant's child
David
is.
Tennant's been more vocal. Yeah.
David Tennant has been one more vocal, especially with pins and stuff, and I think he wore a t-shirt at one point that was like saying like save trans kids or something like that on set whilst he was going to film something. I don't know what the film thing was, but he was on set with that, and I think someone took a photo of it and realized what it was, and I think they rather went at him or like applauded him for doing that. And it's nice to see that his wife Georgia is now displaying solidarity with trans people, especially as I believe, I don't know if it's their child or his child with previous women or anything like that. I don't know, but it is the case of their child is I think non-binary, so it's nice to actually see that a parent in the public sector is actually supportive of their trans or non-binary child. Was pretty nice.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, very good, very positive.
So that's some positive news before we just move into some Trans Pride news for Trans Pride Southampton. So first of all, we got the Trans Pride 2024 news that Mabel will like to speak about, especially as she's been setting it up and we've been hard at work trying to sort out everything.
Yeah, so we've announced the date recently, so it's going to be the 29th of June that we're having Trans Pride Southampton, and we've announced the venue too. So it's going to be at Edmondscale Unitarian Church. That's where the first Trans Pride was in Southampton. We've worked with the venue before, so we know that it is a good venue. It's very accessible. There's a lift to get to the first floor. It is accessible in other ways too, like for people in wheelchairs to be able to get into the building. So yeah, we know that we're going to be in for a really good time with having Trans Pride at Edmondscale, and I can't wait for everyone to be there.
Yeah, it should hopefully be really good, especially as we've actually pushed it back from the cold climate that we originally had. What was it, October last year?
Yeah, it's not in dark and dreary rainy months now like October, and I think it was November before that.
Yeah, it's good that we've pushed it back to more a Pride sort of season anyway, and
yeah, we're in Pride Month. It's going to be in the anniversary actually of, I think it's day 2 for the Stonewall riots. So that's where the 29th of June falls within.
Yeah, so that would be really good, and hopefully you turn up if you are in the local area, or even if you're not in the local area.
Even if you're not in the local area, it's going to be great. Get it.
Yeah, we've had a few people travel from quite far previously, especially as sometimes you don't have trans prides in your area and stuff. Luckily now we've got a lot more trans prides in the Hampshire area of Southampton, of the UK. So it's good to be able to see all of that, and I'm glad that we're getting somewhere with everything. We've just paid the venue properly, and we'll be looking at pricing and proper things for advertisement. If you want to go
more
help
details
us
to be coming.
Yeah, if you want to be able to help us with any of this and be able to do that, you can rather come and just talk to us on our socials and everything, Facebook, Instagram. Do we have any others that we like mainly use for like main social media? That's about it, isn't it? Or you can come to our coffee. We'll leave that in the description or the show notes as well. So you can go check that out if you want to be able to, of course, support us on coffee. You don't have to, obviously, but you can rather do a one-off payment or monthly if you wish to. The last final topic I wanted to be able to talk about was, our thoughts about how we're dealing with our YouTube channels. When we released this episode last month, it was on a different YouTube channel, and it moved over to its own YouTube channel, not for TransHampton itself, but for a full Trans Pride Southampton YouTube channel that is separate than the Trans Play UK stuff, our live stream stuff for gaming and playing video games and live streaming. And we just about released, it would have released by the time this episode has dropped. It's Sunday the 25th. The first episode of like actual video would actually be released. It was kind of nice. I recorded it, edited it, and released it. It's me going around Hitman 3, slapping people with fish. So that's kind of nice. It's where I just wanted to try and take people out, Silent Assassin. So yeah, they're now separated into a Trans Pride Southampton channel and a Trans Play UK channel. So what do you think about that? Do you like that we've done that, and what do you think the future might be for some of those channels?
I think putting the podcast and separating the two channels was a good idea. I'm an older trans woman, so I'm not really into the gaming aspect, so I don't watch the Trans Play one as much. I dip into it every now and again and watch the shorts, but I don't watch the long videos because I get enough of watching Zara play bloody computer games on my telly at home. So, but I do keep a pace of how well the podcast and how well the videos on Trans Pride Southampton are doing, and it's good. I think it's a good idea, Sam. It was a good idea to do that, and I think we'll get traction slowly but surely as time goes on. I mean, look at what the trans they still are getting there as time goes on. They're bringing in more people. They're still below 1,000 subscribers, and they've nearly done 100 episodes of the podcast. So growth can be slow in this, what is in fact a niche market, but it is growing.
Yeah, I one of the major reasons that we did do it was when we posted anything about Trans Pride itself, like the event stuff of like, hey, we've just announced the venue, here's where it's going to be, or here's the date, or anything like that. Because of course how much like gaming content and stuff we were doing on the channel, it kind of like killed it straight away. It wasn't nice. So I'm glad that we've separated, and I hope that they both do really well. We'll be hopefully trying to work out some content properly for the Trans Pride Southampton channel, more than just this podcast, and just announcements and things for Trans Pride Southampton 2024, 2025, and so on and so forth, till whenever we rather decide to stop doing it, or we finally get the correct result of all of this, what is trans rights and not so much hatred, and I guess we just result to being a party pride or something like that at that stage.
And don't forget, we're also going to be doing a video for Trans Day of Visibility.
Yes, we're doing a video for Trans Day of Visibility. We're producing the one for both like Trans Pride Southampton, as well as we're helping Southampton Pride, aren't we, with their one?
They will be two different videos. Yeah, there'll be two different videos aimed at a different sort of group of people. The one for Pride, Southampton Pride, will be aimed at the greater queer community, and the one for Trans Day Visibility for Southampton Pride will be more aimed at the trans and non-binary community.
Yeah, that's fair enough. So let's run out of topics. Is there anything else you want to be able to talk about, or just quickly mention that you've done through the past month or have experienced?
Yep, so we've got two more announcements, of course. So we've been talking about Trans Pride Southampton. There's also going to be the LGBTQIA plus beach meets. So once we get some more sunny weather, we'll be doing that again, of course. We went to Calshot Beach last time, which I'm sure we'll want to be going to again. But we'll be trying out some other beaches. So hopefully there's going to be some that would be maybe easier, because Calshot Beach is a very long bus ride away. And also, by the time this podcast gets released, we're going to be announcing Trans Sports Day as well in the Outdoor Sports Centre in Southampton. So don't worry, we're not going to be doing really high contact sports and getting really competitive. It's just going to be a chilled out couple of games in the Outdoor Sports Centre to hopefully make friends and get some fresh air.
Okay, so no rugby.
No rugby, no.
All pile on, everyone.
No take down Bulldog.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, that should be all good, and hopefully we can post that up about that and do all of that. Do you want to link your socials, you two?
Yes, Sam. If you want, you could link to my video where I rant about fishy.
Yep.
If you think the audience might want to watch it, and to my socials, Instagram.
Yeah. I'll do the exact same as last time then. Mabel, what's your socials and stuff so that people can contact you if need be?
So if anyone wants to give me a follow, I'm on Instagram posting publicly now, and that would be the username Mabel_of_Southampton.
Yeah. And if you want to be able to check me out, I'm Sam Xavier on X, everything. Not X. I do not like X. Twitter's awful. I do have an account, but I don't look on there most of the time. If you want to follow me on anything else, Instagram, Facebook, or anything, most of the time I am Sam Xavier. What is SAMXAVIA? And check me out in there if you really want. I'll also leave a link in the description or the show notes or whatever to our coffee, as well as Facebook and Instagram if you want to go check them out for Trans Pride Southampton, because whatever you do on there, if you socialize or post about it, like you can share our posts or do any of that, that's really helpful for us, and we can hopefully grow a little bit better in the future when it comes to trans pride, and hopefully get more people on board and make it so that we're not so alone in the world. So yeah, is there anything else you want to say, you two?
No, that's it, Sam.
Have a good night.
Say bye, Dylan. Dylan's very sleepy. He's a bit hammered.
Oh. Was that an owl?
That's right.
No, it's Dylan from the Magic Roundabout.
I've never watched the Magic Roundabout.
The rabbit from the Magic Roundabout who's permanently sleepy.
I might have to watch the Magic Roundabout. Roundabout. We've been talking way too long. Thank you very much for watching or listening. If you want to check it out on YouTube, you can. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.